and welcome to CVS Health Live, our ongoing series that delivers timely perspectives and relevant insights into top healthcare issues that are happening right now. I'm Jessica DeMassa. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. We are so excited to welcome you back and to kick off 2023 with a really important topic that I think might be relative to a lot of your New Year's resolutions. I know it's relevant to mine. Today, we're going to be talking about the importance of self-care. So I myself am trying to practice better self-care this year. And so far, I've really learned a lot. I've learned that there's no one way or right way to approach self-care, which is really great because it means that there are a lot of options for practicing it. But what I've also come to learn is that survey data has revealed that a large percentage of Americans don't see themselves. They don't see their culture, their gender, their identity, or their capabilities represented in the self-care trend. So what do? Well, in this episode, we're going to dig into the concept of self-care and how important it is for all people to be able to find themselves and feel represented in the variety of self-care options that are out there. We're going to learn about one+other, the new personal care brand CVS Health has launched, which is hopefully going to help with just that. So without further ado, let's welcome our panelists from CVS Health. We have Andrea Harrison. She's Vice President of Merchandising, Beauty, and Personal Care.
Nice to be here this morning.
Andrea, it's so great to have you here. Joining Andrea, we have Dr. Robin Gobin. She's a licensed psychologist, author, and mindfulness instructor. Welcome, Robin. Good to have you here.
Yeah, so great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us again. All right, Dr. Gobin, why don't we kick things off with you? It's a new year, and like I said, one of my New Year's resolutions is to practice better self-care, and I think that I'm not alone in wanting to tackle those two kind of concepts of better self-care and also better mental health. So self-care really does feel like it's become a buzzword right now, but it's actually a universal need that drives well-being. As a licensed psychologist and a mindfulness instructor, can you share your perspective on the self-care trend? And let us know, is it more than just a trend?
Yes, I'm so happy actually to see self-care getting the attention that it deserves in the media. I think that the pandemic, one thing that it did do is just let us know how much we need self-care. We need to take care of ourselves. And when I think about self-care, the thing that I think about is simply nourishing yourself on several levels. So nourishing yourself spiritually, physically, emotionally, vocationally in the work that you do. So it's really about checking in with ourselves and giving ourselves the things that we need to take better care of ourselves.
Andrea, Dr. Gobin made some incredible points about self-care. And in particular, the one that resonates with me is that self-care is going to be different for everyone. It should look different. It should feel different. I mean, it really is about you taking care of yourself. So Andrea, I know that, self-care and personal well-being has been at the forefront of CVS Beauty's vision. How is CVS Health taking these unique factors into consideration?
Absolutely. So since the start, CVS has been dedicated to bringing its heart to every moment of our customers' health, focusing on their needs and the causes that are most important to them so that we can deliver solutions that make health holistic and personal, convenient, and accessible. With customers at the center of everything that we do, we continue to reimagine the products and services that we offer so that we can align with their evolving needs. And self-care has never been more at the forefront of that conversation than it is today. 91% of Americans agree that self-care is important no matter who you are. And 50% of Americans say they practice some form of self-care every day. But 4 in 10, about 38% of Americans, say they can't afford to practice self-care. So at CVS, we're committed to offering a selection of beauty and wellness products that ensure that everyone has access to this really critical part of their day and part of making sure that they're able to take the time that they need. We also look for ways to innovate and bring health to the forefront. This includes mental health and confidence, which are just so important and so much more at the forefront of everyone's thinking today than it ever has been, I think. And we want to ensure that all customers feel represented within our product assortment. So when it comes to self-care, 88% of Americans believe that self-care is a fundamental need that's important for their mental health. But we also know that 1 in 3 do not see themselves reflected in the self-care movement. So think about all the places we're all seeing this written about and spoken about. 1 in 3 people don't think it's inclusive of them. Within that, 1 in 2, or 55% of Americans, agree that brands don't make products with people like them in mind. And so as we think about that and the challenge that we have or the opportunity we have to bring healthcare to everyone, that means self-care too.
This data is really interesting to me, and it supports a conversation that we've had a lot on CVS Health Live, specifically that a lack of representation among medical professionals, in healthcare settings, among brands, can have a really significant impact on underrepresented communities, including people of color, the LGBTQ plus community, and people with physical and mental impairments. So, Dr. Gobin, I want to come back to you. What do we know about how a lack of representation can influence individuals' mental health or self-image? And where are brands particularly influential here?
The major issues that I think happens with the way that self-care is marketed is that it's really narrow in scope. So typically what we see is the idea of bubble baths or maybe a vacation or even maybe a yoga class. And so what happens with that is that the marketing is not representative of everyone's reality. So a lot of people maybe struggle with not having extra money at the end of the month to invest in themselves in very lavish ways, or maybe their time is taking up doing other things. They're investing in their families, they're doing a lot of work, and so they don't have the time. And so what I think is really important is to think about how the way that we talk about self-care and the way that we promote self-care might not include everyone's lived experiences and their reality. So for example, if we're marketing self-care in a way that really is about spending a lot of money, going on a lot of trips. What if I don't have those financial resources? Is self-care just not for me? Do I not deserve to practice self-care? And so I think sometimes that is the message that can be sent to people with marginalized identities, is maybe they don't deserve self-care, or that self-care is not something that's available to them. And so I think, really what we need to do is help people to understand that self-care is for them, and that there are a variety of ways, a variety of unique ways that you can practice self-care, and that self-care is individual for every person, and it really needs to be responsive to what your needs are and where you find yourself in this particular season of your life.
All right, obviously, there are some clear takeaways here for brands that are promoting self care and selling products that promote well being. Andrea, how is CVS Health ensuring inclusivity within its products and its marketing?
Yes, we are constantly looking for ways to innovate and bring health to the forefront, which again includes mental health and confidence, to make sure that all of our customers feel reflected in our aisles. So for example, 5 years ago, we made a commitment to transparency and authenticity in all of our beauty imagery through our Beauty Unaltered initiative. And last fall, we announced a commitment to address period poverty and the actions we're taking to provide a more accessible menstrual care set of options as part of our new platform here, Healthier Happens Together, to provide access and services and products to help women support their menstrual and physical well-being. Through that effort, we did some things to make our aisles even more accessible, and that is really fundamental self-care when you think about it, right? So we've reduced the prices on our CVS Health store brand period products by 25%. We're also paying the so-called menstrual tax on menstrual products in our front store in 12 states, and we're partnering with national organizations who are working to eliminate the menstrual tax in 26 others. And we're offering new menstrual and conception and menopause services through MinuteClinic and through CVS. And so I mentioned that because that purpose to me, as someone who sells a lot of product to women, right, really it underscores for me how basic self-care can be, and all of the ways in which we can have impact. And it's that focus on purpose that led us to create One Another, which has a mission of making sure that everyone can feel good both inside and out. So One Another is our new inclusive beauty and personal care brand by CVS Pharmacy that celebrates self-expression and embraces individuality with self-care essentials that are just fun to mix and match, and you'll find that are not specific to gender, not designed for any one person, but are really meant for all. The launch of One Another improves the shoppability of these essentials for every customer and shows our commitment to making sure that self-care solutions are ubiquitous and accessible, inclusive for everyone, which will allow more customers to feel like the door is open for them to experiment with self-care in ways that are financially accessible and accessible in every other way you might imagine as they walk through the aisles.
All right, Dr. Gobin, I would love your perspective on the impact of these shifts in the industry. I read a statistic that said 71% of Americans agree self care brands should focus more on diversity and inclusivity. So, no doubt these actions will be really welcomed by consumers. How do you think more diverse representation in the industry will improve the experiences of consumers when it comes to choosing which products to purchase?
Yeah, I think it's just so important that people see themselves reflected in the way that products are marketed. They want to see people who look like them. They want to see people who have similar values that they have, people who have similar backgrounds. They also want to see people who've encountered similar barriers to self-care, and importantly people who have overcome those barriers, and so that they can see what's possible for them and that they can overcome those barriers to self-care as well. So I think the representation is hugely important. And one thing that this question reminds me of is when I was a bright-eyed undergraduate student and I had the goal and the desire to become a psychologist. And when I was younger, I never saw anyone that looked like me who actually had the career of a psychologist. But when I got to undergrad and I started engaging with other professors and I started to see people who looked like me, who reflected my background and had similar experiences, then that's what had me to start to believe that my dream was actually achievable. And so I feel like if you can visualize it, then you can achieve it. And so brands can help consumers visualize themselves being cared for and nurtured, and in turn inspire consumers to take care of themselves.
All right, Andrea, I'm sure that this is just the start and that these transitions, they may not always be easy, but as a leader in this area, do you see inclusivity becoming more of a focus for brands? And if so, what can other brands take away from CVS Health's experience with launching One Another?
Absolutely. I think one of the things we've learned is that purpose resonates with customers. Customers choose where they shop, what they shop based on, to Dr. Gobin's point, brands that reflect their values, reflect who they are and how they show up, how they view the world. And so as we think about the decisions that we make, we do them all through the lens of a customer. And so thinking about what they like best, how we can address their concerns about their health, how they see themselves. And so we take those learnings to help create assortments that reflect what we think they need and want the most. So looking forward, we spend a lot of time talking about it internally, but really have an obligation to do everything we can to ensure that our customers have a healthier relationship with beauty. Beauty is a space that is absolutely wrought with the complexities of seeing yourself reflected and seeing yourself reflected in a transparent and authentic way. And so we continue to build an assortment in beauty and personal care that reflect that foundation. We feel strongly that in order to serve all of the thousands of communities we're in this country, we actually have to reflect the communities that we serve. And that is an ongoing mission for us, and one that will probably never be complete. But as we do it, we try to think about making sure that we're reflecting the diversity of our customers while we're offering value and innovation. Every customer wants to find that hope in a jar, that product that looks like them, that makes them feel special, makes them feel confident. And so while the job is never complete, we continuously look for some of these new and exciting things that help give that customer just that little bit more confidence as they walk out the door in the morning.
Dr. Gobin, as companies consider the shifts they need to make towards inclusivity, what other factors should they take into account? What should they think about in terms of how they communicate these changes, and what sorts of partners do consumers want to see brands work with?
Yeah, I think what's really important is that brands realize that everyone doesn't have the same lived experiences. And so, oppression is real. Racism, sexism, transphobia, ageism, they're all real. And so these can be barriers to self-care for people, especially who have marginalized identities, barriers to them practicing self-care. And so I think it's really important for us to know that, and for us to realize that sometimes, even if we do have energy after contending with all of those things that threaten our self-care or create barriers to self-care, that sometimes even after that, we might feel guilty for practicing self-care because it takes away time from our families or time away from the communities that we care about. Which brings me to another piece, which I think is an important factor that brands need to take into consideration. And we've touched on this earlier, which is values, right? So in a lot of communities of color, communities with other marginalized identities, the collective is more valuable than the individual. And so if self-care is always marketed as something that you have to go off alone and do without your family, without your community, without your friends, then that might be something that people are not as excited to do because they don't want to lose that connection, and because the collectivistic idea is so important and so prominent in those cultures. And so someone might just not want to do that, and that could be a barrier that maybe companies want to consider. And so then I think about when companies move forward to more inclusive branding and marketing, again, representation is just so important, and not just representation in commercials or representation on social media posts, but also giving diverse voices a seat at the table when these brands are being developed and when they're throughout the process of them being released and launched in the world. So consumers want authenticity, and they want their unique interests, their unique needs, and their unique challenges to be acknowledged and to be addressed in self-care marketing.
All right, Andrea, wrap this up and dish for us a little bit. We want some insider scoop here. As we look ahead, does CVS Health have plans to expand one another? I know this is new. I know it's early days, but maybe there are additional products, or maybe there are even other brands where CVS Health is rethinking its branding to better reflect its consumers. What can you tell us?
Sure. So today, the One Another collection launches with an assortment of about 200 self-care staples. Everything from cotton balls to nail polish remover, tweezers, hair accessories, things that everybody actually uses in their daily life. And the selection of items was identified to provide an extensive set of personal care options to all customers and allow everyone to curate whatever self-care looks like for them. But we're committed to listening to and adapting our products and packaging as we grow the brand and learn how customers interact with it and what more they want from it and what more we can do with it to cater to individual needs and the unique needs of that diverse customer base. The great part is that this is a brand by CVS Pharmacy. So we have all the power in the world to learn from our customers and to continue to adapt and make sure that these products provide for all of the diverse needs that our customers might offer, right? Everything from to all of Dr. Gobin's points, to race, to just physical ability, right? There's all sorts of ways in which we can take our learnings and our proximity to the customer and learn from them to make sure that this brand reflects exactly what they want it to be.
All right. Well, Andrea, thank you for that. And Dr. Gobin, thank you as well. It's a pleasure to speak with both of you about this. Like I said at the beginning, I'm trying so hard to work self-care into my routine, and I don't think that I'm alone in doing that. I think there are probably a lot of folks out there as well. And hopefully maybe folks now who will find something in one another that resonates with them and helps make self-care even more relevant to what they're trying to do to improve their own mental well-being. So thank you guys so much for being here and answering all of our questions. It's been a pleasure to speak with you.
It was so lovely to be here with you today. Thank you so much again for having me.
Thank you. I really enjoyed being here as well.
You guys need to join us again for the next episode of CVS Health Live. We'll be coming at you soon with another big topic, talking about what's happening in the healthcare industry. Until then, you can check out our YouTube channel, hit up some of the past episodes, see what we've been talking about. And if you want some more information about what we were just talking about, you can check out the URL on your screen to learn more. I'm Jessica DeMassa. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode of CVS Health Live soon. Take care. Bye.